Welcome to Stars Launch Pod, where we chat with innovators who are overcoming challenges, pushing boundaries, and collaborating to make space more accessible and sustainable for humanity, one launch at a time.
It's one small step for man.
Here's your host, Susan Wise.
Welcome to Stars Launch Pod, Space Technology and Research Sciences. I'm Susan Wise and thrilled to have a very special guest with us today on the show, former NASA horticultural scientist, Jacob Pepperseed Torres. Did I get that right?
You got it right, Susan. Thank you so much.
Where's the pepper seed come from? I'm not real sure. There's a story, I'm sure.
Yes, there's absolutely a story, and I'll try to be brief with it. But I decided that I was gonna do and write a master's thesis at Purdue University, and there was something about it that I just got it in my head that I was gonna go to Purdue. And so when I went to Purdue, there's a long-standing tradition with NASA and astronauts and engineers working for NASA. I actually studied in the Neil Armstrong building. And so I was just really inspired. And once I finished my time, I still needed a little more time to write my master's thesis. And I was like, how am I going to get more time? If I got like a NASA internship, I bet you they would like let me have some more time to finish my thesis. So I Googled NASA internships, and right away this website comes up. It's for the STEM education internship opportunities, and I applied. You can apply for 15 opportunities every semester, right? And they're with individual teams. So, of course, my number one thing was to work on the Mars rover, Mars 2020 project. That was what I was really interested in. There was the Solar Parker probe, where they're sending a probe into the sun and recording data as long as they can. I'm an engineer, and I 3D print and build things. So there was one where you can 3D print the components that make up the spacesuit, so the astronauts can build it in space and they don't need to be resupplied. About 5 opportunities in, I ran out of things, and so I started looking through the web base there, and finally something came up, and it said plant growth for food production in microgravity. I go, that sounds really cool. I'm sitting right now in northern New Mexico, where my family is from. We've been farming here for hundreds of years. Growing crops and growing plants is ingrained in my DNA. And then I went to school to be an engineer. And so when I applied for that internship, out of those 15 opportunities, one team gave me a call, and it was the plant science team at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And they said, Jacob, we love your master's research. It's a botanical air filter that filters air inside of a house that uses plants to filter air. It's cool that you grew up on a farm, and then we really need an engineer. How would you like to come work at Kennedy Space Center for 10 weeks? And I was like, oh, of course, please. So when I signed up in 2018, I knew that I had 10 weeks to work with NASA at Kennedy Space Center, and I thought that would be it, and then I would go back to Purdue and move my life forward. But when I got there, it turned out that they didn't have a Jacob. And we just fit like a perfect marriage. The team at Kennedy Space Center. So Kennedy Space Center is known for launching rockets. SpaceX and ULA, United Launch Alliance, NASA, they all launched their rockets there. The shuttle launched from there, the Apollo rockets, the Falcon 9 the SpaceX Falcon 9 launches from there, and Artemis, which is also coming up. But what people don't know is that it's also the designated crop growth center for NASA as well. There's a plant science team that is based there, and their mission, and it's something that we really don't think about, but astronauts need food to survive on these long duration missions. When we're up on the International Space Station, when we go to the moon, when we go to Mars, having fresh food is one of our biggest challenges. We've learned.
So what is for dinner on Mars?
Oh, sure. So for dinner on Mars, what we envision is it's going to be prepackaged meals that we prepared here on Earth that were freeze-dried, sent over to Kennedy Space Center, and then launched out. And then fresh crops from a greenhouse, like a Mars greenhouse, will supplement their diets with fresh food, like fruits and vegetables, leafy greens, and all of those types of things. So because of the distance between here and Mars, it could take 6 months to a year for that food to get there. which means that vitamins, nutrients, taste, all of these things degrade over time, and we absolutely have to find a way to get fresh food for the astronauts. And so what NASA has decided to do is that we would set up greenhouses or growth spaces in the areas that they work, and then we'll grow fresh food for them, or they will grow the fresh food. And then my job is to help develop technologies that help them do that. So that's anything from lighting to irrigation, robots that help pollinate the flowers and keep them watered, all of those things. And that's where I come in. I'm an engineer that builds those kinds of things.
Jacob, did you have like an aha moment at some point where you just were like, yes, this is it? A really big aha moment.
Yes. So the aha moment for me was during my internship in 2018. We sit in these giant rooms, and NASA's really collegial, like a college. It's like it's like an academic type of
Mm-hmm.
environment. And all the scientists and group leaders sit in this center table, and then I like to sit outside. And they started talking about, well, we've grown a lot of leafy greens in space, lettuce, spinach, pak choi, but astronauts can't live on that. We're going to have to grow fruit. We're going to have to grow vegetables. That means pollinating flowers and growing over a long duration. And in that meeting, somebody said peppers, and then that made me perk up. Because I'm from New Mexico, and our most famous crop is a pepper. It's called the chili pepper in New Mexico, Chile. Then
Yep.
somebody said the word hatch. And I don't know if you ever hear your name called and you hear your name like Jacob, who? Like you look around.
Uh-huh.
And somebody said the word hatch. Hatch is a famous town here in New Mexico that's famous for growing their peppers. And somebody said that word, and I looked up and I go, "What'd you say?" And they said, "Hatch, Jacob. It's this town in New Mexico. It's famous for peppers. Have you heard of it?" And I'm like, yeah, I went to New Mexico State University, which is the next town over. I'm from northern New Mexico, and I've been growing chili and peppers my whole life. And so right then, when I realized that they were wanting to grow a pepper in space as the first fruit, it was the aha moment that, oh my goodness, I've been growing peppers my whole life, and now I find myself in this room with NASA scientists who want to do that in space. And so it was then that I knew, and that we knew, that that was my team. It was only a few days later that they said, "Jacob, you've done a great job this summer. Would you like to stay for another 10 weeks?" And I was like, yes. And then at the end of that 10 weeks, they said, "Jacob, would you like a job?" And I was like, yes. And so they sent me a link and asked me to apply for a scientist role, even though I'm an engineer by education. I signed up for a scientist role, and ultimately I got to be part of 17 NASA space biology experiments on all environments. Not only on the International Space Station, but we have other vehicles that are going around the Earth that we've tested in. We've also grew in Antarctica. My friend Jess Bunchek, she went out to Antarctica for 1 year to Eden ISS, and she also grew New Mexico chili out there, and then grew on a hydroponic system that I invented that I'm using now as my PhD research. Excuse
Wow.
me.
Hence the Jacob Pepperseed Torres
Yes.
name.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Hey, quick question about my tomatoes. I heard somewhere that you're supposed to go out and hit them with a broom to make them. Is that true?
Yeah. So
Is that
the
a
way
wives' tale? Because
no
to make them
actually,
pollinate or something.
so tomatoes and peppers were our two main candidates to grow the first fruit in space, and mainly because the way that they can be pollinated. They don't have a male and a female flower that has to transfer pollen to one or the other. The pollen is all encased in one flower, and so all that needs to happen is some kind of mechanized agitation to pollinate your flowers. So if you
Like a
went and
broom.
whacked it with a broom, that would shake the pollen loose and pollinate your flowers. Also, so that's where we were able to use the astronauts. They called themselves hatchstronauts as our
Oh,
pollinators, and so they went in instead of shaking it, but they put gloves on and they poked each
mhm.
flower with their finger. So it's true
That's.
that shaking a tomato or a pepper plant will help pollinate the flowers.
Let me ask you this: what has been your biggest challenge, and how did you overcome it?
Sure. No, there's a lot of challenges. That's what I do for a living is I run down challenges. So there's different kinds, like is it a professional challenge or personal challenge? Which would you like to hear?
Mm,
Like,
uh, professional, I guess.
all right, professional. Um, my thing,
No,
I
I take
guess.
that. I take that back. Personal. Let's make it personal, Jacob.
Okay, cool, cool.
We're
Well,
getting one on one.
personal challenge is I'm
Yeah.
in a town where I'm sitting right now where my family has lived here for hundreds of years. Another part of my
Hmm.
family has been here for thousands of years. It's almost my predetermined destiny to have stayed here my whole life. Nobody has gone out to do what, like go out to get a master's degree or to work with NASA and those types of things. So just the fact that I got away from my hometown and then I went and got an education and the crazy things that I've done during my career has been challenges that I've overcome. And the bottom line for me is that no matter how I'm feeling, I will make myself get there. And then once you get there, everything falls into place. Like, so that's my secret. When I felt like, I wasn't going to make it, I don't belong here, all those things that go through your head, I would just get dressed and go anyway. And then once you get there, you end up doing really, really well. So the biggest challenge was defeating my destiny here to be stuck in my hometown forever and ever. That's not true. But in the end, I ended up back here anyway. So
You just kind of came full circle, you know?
yes,
You had
absolutely.
to go out and learn all about it and then bring it back home and put it to good use.
And that's one of the
Do you,
biggest complaints of the community is that people go away, but they never come back to contribute. And so that's literally what I'm trying to live right now is I'm somebody who went away, I experienced these things, and now I'm trying to bring it back to my community to help them.
so you have any other advice you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, well, the I think probably anybody who's listening right now are probably very hard workers, and I bet getting tasks done isn't a problem for them. The problem is how we treat ourselves as we do that work. The more that we do, the more failures you see. And at least for myself, I had a tendency to beat myself up over the fact that that pepper plant died, or I missed the
Hmm.
irrigation, or all of these things. We would just, my advice for everybody is work hard, do what you're doing, and be nice to yourself as you move through it. And that way you'll be more positive and you'll have more fun with what you do. And it's more likely that you'll be successful because you're rolling easier and not so stressed out.
Right.
So just be
And
good to
Jacob,
yourself.
right. And failures, really, those are just opportunities to learn.
Absolutely. They're badges of honor that you wear on your shirt. I went through that and then it led to this.
I love your enthusiasm, Jacob. I am so glad we got to sit down here on LaunchPod. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'll have one more thing that I just want to add in. So
Yes.
the pepper seed, Jacob pepper seed, doesn't come from the space mission. In fact, part of the NASA core mission is to educate with the science that we do. And taking that to heart, and especially in my community where I am, there's educational opportunities through our Space Chile mission to share that mission with students and then show them 3D printing and agriculture and growing and all of these things. So during COVID, I put out a post on Facebook that said, I challenge you to grow a pepper plant to help me learn how to grow them in a controlled environment. And then the lockdown happened. Literally the next day, my inbox filled up with seed requests, and kids around the world grew a pepper plant to record for science. It was called the Space Chili Grow a Pepper Plant Challenge. We ultimately got NASA funding. I sent 75,000 seed packets around the world, including to Antarctica. And it was one of the craziest experiences ever. Now, Johnny Appleseed is famous and has a fairy tale because he sent seeds around the Midwest United States. But I got him beat. I've covered the world, the stratosphere, and the International Space Station. So pepper seed comes from the fact that I've sent chili seeds to students and people around the world, and they've all grown them. And now we're working on the moon. We succeeded at growing chili in space, which was the Space Chili Grow a Pepper Plant Challenge. Now, today, I am doing the Moon Chili Challenge, where I send seeds or I go to schools, I visit students, show them the space chili mission and all the videos and all this stuff, and then I say, here are some seeds, some pots and plants for you to grow your own pepper plant. And we're growing and recording data to make a database to tell NASA, hey, when you're ready to grow fruit on the moon, we have a crop here that's ready to go. And that's the Moon Chili Challenges, and that's where Jacob Pepperseed comes from.
I love that. And you're planting seeds of knowledge and little brains and little kids out there. I just love that. I love what you're all about, Jacob. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks again for joining us today. Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review and subscribe. And until next time, keep looking up. Thanks. Bye, Jacob.
Bye. Cool. Thank you.
Don't miss an episode. Subscribe on your favorite streaming platform. Watch us on YouTube and follow us on social media. Stars Launch Pod, propelling us forward, one launch at a time.